kid you not, it's like straight out of The Shining, you know, like it's actually probably worse than that. And it feels like that there's going to be like some, exorcism there or something like that.
Welcome to Sunny Side Up Podcast. I am your host, David. Nice to meet you, Randy.
Nice to meet you as well. How you doing, David?
I'm doing fantastic talking to a wholesaler. So tell me about why you started wholesaling.
So I started wholesaling back in 2021, and but before then, I was always interested. I was always an entrepreneur, and I always wanted to get into real estate, especially after reading the book by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. So, like anybody in the real estate, and I always really dealt with that's kind of like the Bible of real estate. So, but that's kind of how I got my interest a long time ago. And then, so what I did after that is I always just kept that in the back of my head. And like, I always thought that you needed a ton of money in order to get into real estate. And so I heard about this strategy called the BRRRR strategy. It stands for renovate, uh, buy, rehab, refinance, rent out, refinance, and then repeat. So what happens is you would the goal is to get all the money that you put into the property out when you refinance it, and then you repeat the process. So I got into that, but you still need a ton of money to start. And I'm like, okay, well, while I save up, I'm going to learn as much as possible. And while I was searching YouTube, I came across wholesaling, and I'm like, really? So I ended up working with a friend of mine who was actually doing the BRRRR strategy. I reached out to him on Facebook, and I just wanted to talk to him. I took him out to a cup of coffee or whatever. He was actually doing it. And then I found out about wholesaling. He's like, yeah, I buy some of my deals from wholesaling. I was telling him, he was telling me about that. And so me and him ended up starting a wholesaling company to try to find deals for himself and for me to make some money. So we started that, and after about the first 4 months, I didn't get a deal until my 4th month. And when I got a deal, I ended up JVing with another person. So there was a total of 3 of us. My partner and this other gentleman, he helped me walk through a lot of the processes that I don't know about yet. So the title search, the title, like talking with the title company, what I need to know, things like that. And because we were doing cold calling and we got some leads. So what I did was I partnered up with him. He brought the buyer, and we handled everything together. I ended up making $1,333. It was my portion of that, and we were splitting the assignment fee 3 ways. So it was a house in Detroit, and we ended up only selling the house for like $8,000. So, and the seller only ended up walking away with about $1,000 because they had so many like city fees and flight tickets and water fees, because all they did was buy the house and then just let it sit and didn't do nothing to it. So um, that was how I got my first deal in wholesaling, how I got started, and yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. How did you learn what you know now? How did you learn that? Was it, and you're talking about working with other people, was it mainly through mentorship from them, or was it from reading and watching videos, and like how did you learn that?
So I learned everything I know mainly by through YouTube. So through watching YouTube, and then after I was watching it, I just didn't start to write down things and then just move on to the next video. Like I just kept watching and I kept trying to practice what I was watching. That's the issue. Like a lot of people get into what's called analysis paralysis, and what happens is they don't take action. Well, the way I work is I can learn something all day long, but unless I actually put it into action, it's hard for me to actually retain it. So
Mm-hmm.
what I do is I will learn something a little bit, then I'll take action. As I'm taking action, as soon as I run into an issue, I'm searching on YouTube and see if anybody else had that same issue, how to overcome it. Or I was either doing that or I would talk with the person I partnered with, and I would ask him, "Hey, how did you overcome this? Well, this and that. Would this work?" I rely on the connections and the networking with people that I've made over time. And while I was learning all of this, I was going to meetups like real estate meetups and networking with a lot of different either buyers or other wholesalers, things like that.
You mentioned the analysis paralysis and like watching the YouTube videos. I think that's an easy trap, especially when, like, for somebody like yourself, when you're trying to learn wholesaling, like you're
Hmm.
going into this new thing. It's so easy just to watch hundreds of videos about that thing, that wholesaling thing. And I would much rather just say, all right, this week I want to learn about this aspect of wholesaling. So I'm just going to watch, say, 5 videos and really
Hmm.
study those videos. No, don't just watch 30 and then just keep watching. Like I would much rather just just say, all right, I'm going to conquer this aspect of wholesaling and just sit there and conquer it and then move on, right? Because I mean, I'm not going to remember 30 videos worth of content just in my
Hmm.
head without studying it and writing it down. I don't know who
Yeah.
can.
Yeah. And that's the thing that people had a problem with. They're listening to too many people at once. And what I found was I would take some bits of other people and like try to. You have to look past the fluff. Okay, a lot of people they put fluff out there in order to make it look good or make it dramatic. Okay, make the video dramatic or whatever. Um, but one thing that I really loved watching and what really helped me was actual live cold calls. So people would video record their either whether they be follow ups or whether they be actual cold calls. Doesn't matter. I want to hear actual live rebuttals from other people. So, and how they interact and how they talk back. Then I'm like, okay, when I hear that, when I'm cold calling myself, that's how I can act. That's how I can actually um, rebuttal myself. Like if I remember that, of course. So I would
Hmm.
watch it as much as possible, and then you find patterns, and you find patterns in everything. Okay, sellers really only say 6 things. Okay, these are the only thing you really need to say to rebuttal this. So on and so forth. It's
Hmm.
they're either going to tell you to f off or well, tell me more. So
Yep. Do you have a sales script and a cold calling script that you follow?
So I started using that, and I train other people with that. The issue I have is just that I don't want to sound scripted. Okay. So I
Mm-hmm.
tell people this is a guideline, not a you have to. Okay. If I'm sitting here like this and I'm talking on the phone, okay, hello, Mr. Seller. Do you, um, okay, hold on. Let me find my place here. Okay. Hi, I'm calling about your property on XYZ a Main Street, and I'm trying to figure out if you'd be interested in selling. Now, that looks and sounds like you're reading from a script, and I just want to be
Mm-hmm.
like the neighbor next door. Hey, I'm looking for John.
Right.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
hey, yeah, you got John. What do you need? Hey, I was just wondering if you own blah blah 123 Main Street. Yeah, that's my property. What about it? Okay, yeah, I'm just curious if you're interested uh in an offer on the property. You know? No.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're fine. I don't know. It depends on how much that. Well, then I go into, if they do want an actual offer, I try to get any type of motivation out of them. Obviously, if they sound like that, there's no motivation whatsoever. So I'll just let them know who I am, what I do, and more than likely that usually deters them from just wanting a their understanding that I'm trying to make money. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also there
Yep.
trying to help them in any type of situation. So if they are in a situation, so like for instance, foreclosure or back taxes or whatever, and they're about to lose a house, that I'm there to actually help them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yep. The one thing that I heard when you were talking about like reading a sales script and being too regimented is like think about sales as if you're on the same side as the customer trying to help them. So I was thinking
yep,
about it like instead of sitting in a booth where one person's here, one person's here, opposing each other, you're sitting in the booth next to each other on the same side. Like you're not, one person is not winning and the other person's losing. It's just let's work together for the best outcome for the both of us. Like a win-win, not a win-lose kind of
exactly.
situation. I feel like at least from the experiences that I've had with being sales and meeting a customer, is that's when I feel and remember feeling the I would say like the calmest and just all right, things worked out okay. And
Hmm.
whether it be a customer at a store or buying a car, whatever the case may be, I feel like that's at least in my opinion, that's the best way to go about sales is just feeling like a friend rather than a salesman and a and a customer, because
Right.
it just seems like it's the best way that I remember being sold on things. I always
Yep.
try to like pick up and remember those type of experiences.
Yeah, and
Um,
and that's what I have in my script
so
as well. So that's kind of where I go is like, okay, I try to identify a situation that they're in, and if I don't identify their situation, basically there's no motivation, and their only motivation is price. Then I legitimately tell them, hey, sounds like I'm not your buyer, but hey, if you still do want to sell it and you want full retail, I can connect you up with a real estate agent, you know, um, and move on from there. So I still, even if I'm not the person getting under contract or anything like that, like I still try to be as helpful as possible.
mhm. How do you like when you're you mentioned when you're talking to people and going around town, how do
Hmm.
you find these deals? Because I've heard the term drive for dollars, where you just drive around your neighborhood and look for homes that are, got boarded up or notes in the doors, or like how do you
Mm-hmm.
find homes that you are interested in?
So there's multiple different ways. You can pull lists, an actual list of, say, people who are in foreclosure or pre-foreclosure, or people who have tax liens on the property, who have water shut-off notices, things like that. You can do all of that through county records, through places like through PropStream or Batch Leads, things like that. You can also do what's called, like just like you said, driving for dollars. And what all that is that either you have an app that you're picking the properties as you go, or you're legitimately writing down the addresses as you go. So you can drive down a road, and if you see a property that is overgrown, that is, um, it's dilapidated, say maybe a tired landlord. Okay, maybe the grass is too high, and that you looks like they've probably got some code violations or whatever. But it just the property's not kept up well at all. But it's on the nicest block. It's like the worst house on the nicest block. Or
Mm-hmm.
it's there's a few properties on that block that's like that. Okay, you take down every property, and then what happens is you would um, get the get the owner's information through county records, through what's called skip tracing. Skip tracing, there's a free way to do it, and there's a paid way to do it. So, um, and you would either cold call, or you would actually mail them. There's a lot of different marketing strategies. So there's not only one way to actually hit somebody. So you can cold call them, you can text them, you can send them mailers. You can target them through SEO, through like Facebook ads or something like that. Um, just different ways like that. So there's a lot of different ways to handle things. I specifically like cold calling myself because it's a lot faster in response. So, okay,
Mm-hmm.
they get them on the phone. They say, no, I'm not interested. Great. I move on to the next one. That's just how it is. When
Right.
someone says no, it's just you're getting one more no closer to a yes. That's all. That's how I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't like being
Yeah, that's a
told,
good way to think about it.
if you don't like being told no, don't cold call.
Yeah. Yep. Because success rate is not that high, but like the one guy that says
Yep.
yes, that's like, oh yeah.
And even if they say yes,
You
it might not.
mentioned like you're.
Even if they say yes, it might not come to the numbers that you guys agree upon. So you may have to just keep following
Mm-hmm.
up with that person. So
Yep. What is it? I think most sales deals are done after the 8th call, I believe.
yep,
So
I would believe that.
thinking that you're just going to cold call somebody who is not looking to be sold on something at 9:30 in the morning is not going to just, oh, sure, I'll sell my house, no problem. It's
Yep.
like you got to follow up, man. It's not going to happen right away. Um, have you ever had any like weird or funny stories with driving and doing wholesaling? Because I know I went to look at a house recently, and the house was listed on the market, so I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's for sale. And we went there. It was pretty rough shape. Like the roof of the garage was, I had some holes in it. It was not kept up. Like actually the walls of the garage also has some holes in it too.
Mm-hmm.
Like the back wall was kind of bowed out. There's a bunch of junk in the backyard. There's some caulking between the driveway and the wall of the house. So is there water getting in? And then we got up to the front door, and there's one of those notices on the door saying, you got to cut your grass, you got to do this, you got to do that to keep up your property.
Mm-hmm.
And the front window was broken. Okay, it's not good. So we walk in and it's, this is a listed home, like it's for sale. It's supposed to be vacant, but we walk in and there's clearly people living there because there's an air mattress on the floor. There's food in the kitchen, like on the counter. There's dishes on the counter. There's a space heater that was currently on. Like, you're not going to just leave a space heater on and just ditch, There's, very clearly people living in the home. We didn't go downstairs or upstairs because I thought maybe they were people that were living in the home were still in there and either, downstairs or upstairs. But we just thought, well, I don't want to go upstairs and get shot. So I'll just stick to the living room and then, skedaddle. And it's like, you've ever had anything like that before?
Oh yeah.
Or at least something similar.
Yeah. So we've gone into properties in Detroit where, the owner's like, yeah, go in there, check it out. It's vacant. No problem. But we get there, the door's wide open. Okay. Doors unlocked, wide open. There's obviously squatters have been living there. So, bring my flashlight. Whether there's power in there or not, squatters will live there. All right. It's a shelter. It's cold. It's a warm place to go. It's just warmer than outside. That's all. So I have nothing against them. As long as they don't harm me, I'm fine. So now we don't like them in our properties or anything like that. But, first thing I always do is I just knock in. I have my flashlight with me. And I just knock and I'm like, yeah, hello, anybody here? Investor here. Just check out the property. I make myself known when I walk into a property in case there's anybody who pops out. So, it's just something I have to do. Now, there are other people in there that I know that they come strapped no matter what because it's Detroit. They carry a concealed weapons permit because of that. And unfortunately, I don't have that, so I don't do that. So I just use my flashlight, whatever I can.
Yeah, it's something you kind of need that if you're going, going into random homes, especially in cities where that is a thing where I might, even though this house is vacant, I might run it to somebody, living here. So yeah, it's not a bad idea. I think if you have some kind of a way to defend yourself.
Yeah, so we've also had where we get permission from the owner and it's boarded up. Well, we take off the boards and it's completely dark in there. I still yell, I still make myself known, I still do all of that just in case they got through back way or through a window or anything like that. But it's funny because we go through these and they haven't taken care of them. They haven't done anything. Like it literally looks like the paint is peeling because it actually is peeling off the walls. It looks like a horror movie going in. I kid you not. It's like straight out of The Shining, like it's actually probably worse than that. And it feels like that there's going to be like some, exorcism there or something like that. And but hey, it is what it is. I get my photos, I get my video, I whatever I can use to market up the property. Then what I do is, I get back out, I board the property back up. I always make sure that whatever I took off, I put back on just to make sure. And then I try to walk the neighborhood a little bit and, hey, if I can talk to a neighbor, find out what's been going on, then I do that, try to get the story. And then I let them know, hey, we're investors. I also work with a group of investors that, we're going to try to get this house sold and fixed up and help out the neighborhood. Because essentially that's what we do. The people that I sell the houses to, they're not just going to sit on the house just the way it is. They're there to fix it up and then rent it out. They want to make money. If they don't want to rent it out, they're there to fix it
Mm-hmm.
up and flip it. Either way, it's going to get fixed up for the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. I know. Yeah, that's the key thing to tell the people is that you're not just the cheap landlord that's looking to just make a buck. I mean, you're providing housing and you're making the neighborhood better.
Yes.
I mean, if you have a house that's all the grass is growing over, the roof is bad, it's unsightly. It's like, well, I'm here to fix that.
Yep.
I think a lot of people have kind of a negative view of landlords. I
Mm-hmm.
think at least I've met a couple of people that have, and it's like you guys are doing a good service for the community. It's not just if you've seen It's a Wonderful Life, that Mr.
Yeah.
Potter, it's like the mean old man that is just controlling of the city. It's like, no, it's not. That's not that way at all.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like a lot of people think, oh, they're a landlord. We're going to stick it to them. We're going to do this. Well, the thing is that there are bad landlords. I 100% agree, but they're not as bad. A bad landlord is not as bad as a vacant property with a squatter in it. Because if you have a vacant property
True.
and a squatter goes in there, you don't know what's going on. There could be drugs. There could be, it could be a lot of different things. And then that's around your children that is in the other houses and things like that. So at least with having
Mm-hmm.
a landlord, now landlords, they still should be able to take care of the property. They need to make sure everything's taken care of and do everything legally by the books. Get your house certified by the city, so on and so forth. And a lot of the investors that I work with, they do all of that. So 99.9% of the investors that I work with, I do all of that. So, I leave that room for error just in case there's an outlier that gets through. So,
Yeah, and I mean there always is, but I think the from what I've seen, the overall view of landlords is not good. I
mm-hmm.
wouldn't say it's not all bad, but it's not good. But yeah, it's just I don't. I think once you really understand real estate, you understand it's these people are just making money, just like yourself.
Yep.
So, what advice would you give to somebody who wants to start in wholesaling?
So the advice I would give to somebody who wants to start off in wholesaling, specifically, is if you want to learn from someone, follow someone. One of the things that took me a lot longer to do, um, is because I was doing everything the free way. Okay. Now, if you want to do that, by all means, just know it's going to take you longer and a lot more time. That's perfectly fine. Um, I still had to pay for marketing. I still had to pay for all of that. I still had money coming out of my pocket. So, this whole thing where people say wholesaling, you can do it with no money out of pocket whatsoever and make $10,000. You know what? You may be able to, but it's going to take you a lot longer. And you're going to have a lot less success. So, um, I put in some marketing. I tried some things out. I took action, and now still did things on the cheap. Now I didn't pour 20 grand into anything. Still did things on the cheap. It still took me 4 months to get a deal. But my recommendation to anybody is pay a coach, do a program, follow that, and then don't let if you choose somebody, still do your due diligence on whoever you're choosing to follow. But then when you choose to follow that person, just follow that person. Don't let any other influences in, because until you get your deal and then you start testing, you start working, moving on, moving forward, then you can learn to take different things in. But in the beginning, you need to pick either a strategy or pick a person to follow or a mentor and just follow that person and then go from there.
Okay. So before we go, just want to say thank you for coming on. And where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, so we do have a Facebook group. If you are in the Metro Detroit area, it's called Metro Detroit Off Market Real Estate Group. Okay. There's a for sale sign for the banner. So that's how you know it's mine. At the time of this recording, we have about 5,500 people in there. So, and we constantly let people in every day. So, but also my YouTube channel at Randy Stedwell on YouTube. And we go live there every other week for my podcast. My podcast is called Real Estate Talk with Randy Stedwell. And we bring different people on to interview, but we do it live. And then what I do is after the live's done, I do chop that video up and you'll get smaller segments in later on. So, also, if you do come on the live, you can ask questions in the chat, and we'll answer them live. So, we also, it's at Randy Stedwell pretty much on all social media, Instagram, Facebook. I'm on TikTok, but I post a few videos, but I don't have a huge following on TikTok, so, but I am there, yeah, so.
Okay. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.
Awesome.